Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing with your hosts, Asif Khan and Aubriana Lopez.
All right, we are back with your favorite podcast show of the week. This is This Week in Location-Based Marketing, episode number 441. Brianna, welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. I missed you guys.
Yeah, it was a bit of a crazy run last week with all of us traveling. Karsten in Germany and you in New York, and me in Australia, and it was just like it was difficult to get this coordinated, but we still got a show out at the last minute. But good to have you back. And yeah, how was your week?
It was good. It was crazy busy. I was at the IAB Direct Brand Summit show. And it was really interesting, kind of hearing some of the insights that these brands that are going directly to consumers, you think of like the Purple and Casper mattresses, the, I don't know, the makeup boxes, the Birch boxes, those types of things. And then you hear these crazy stories like something like a Kylie, her lip kit, and then she just got sold off like 51% of her company for like $600 million, which is crazy, from lip gloss. And so it was really cool just to hear about the, the innovation and like the sort of like the disruption that those types of brands are having in the industry, and how they have to think things through a little differently than some of the bigger brands that, we tend to talk about on the show here. But it was good. I enjoyed it.
Excellent. That like I'll follow up with you separately on that another time. I'd love to see how we can bring something like that sort of direct to consumer kind of topic into, say a retail logo environment.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll do a panel on that next year. So anyhow.
I think there's a lot to learn for like bigger brands on, taking things. I think that somebody was mentioning, for example, like maybe Clorox or a big brand like that is actually doing some type of like home delivery package service for their clients. And it's not even in the cleaning supplies area. I think it was more like vitamins or, so there's just I think there's a lot of good insight to learn when you look at different ways that people are conducting business and how those different methods can sort of offset your business. And we'll talk a little bit about that with one of our stories later too.
Cool. So before we jump into it, I just want to remind people who are listening and watching, to make sure, you are giving us feedback on the show each week. We love that. If you have story ideas, we want to hear about them. Share it with friends, colleagues. And you may have noticed we switched in the last week our platform. So we're no longer on Podbean. We're now on Anchor, which lets us push it to Spotify and iTunes and all sorts of different places. So it's much more widely distributed now. So it should be really easy for people to get and consume. So let us know what you think about that as well. And if just any feedback is good. So.
Yeah. And I will say, as we're heading into Thanksgiving here in the States, it's just time that I'm like reflecting and being grateful. I try to be grateful every day, of course, but something that we are grateful for is you guys' dedication and viewership or listenership every week. And we're just thankful for you guys, and we're thankful for the industry and all this cool stuff that we get to talk about and make our jobs.
There you go. All right. Well, why don't we jump into it? We've got 3 industry news stories for you this week and 3 member news stories. And I'll let Aubriana kick it off.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick it off with Mobivity. And this is, I actually kind of like this story. A lot of times I'm sort of ho-hum on like the new platforms and new products, but they are, if you're not familiar with Mobivity, they're more of a customer personalization platform. And that platform that they've been focused on is called Recurrency. But now they're launching an omni-channel offers platform. It's offers and promotion management for their clients, which is basically generating one-to-one codes that can be sent via text message. They could be printed on a receipt. They could be sent through other channels, maybe email, messaging. And what it is that these codes are unique to each customer, each consumer. And so it really closes the loop. So it ties a a consumer to a unique identity, which is really cool. So their first customer on this new omnichannel platform is Subway. And Subway, has 30,000 locations in the US, Canada, UK, and Ireland. And so, I think that the scalability of a product like this is really great. And I'm sure Subway is a great place to test it out with, for starters. But what I really like about this is that I think it actually solves a challenge and a problem that there is currently in the market, and that is measurability. So attribution is a challenge. And when you don't have some type of a unique identifier to tie it back to a specific piece of media or a specific consumer and interaction, then, I think that leaves a lot of questions about your campaigns that you're running, what led the people there, what's actually being effective in your marketing plan and strategy. And so I like that this is solving that challenge. I'm not sure that if this is, from my perspective, the one offering, or the one, I guess, area that this offering could grow a little bit more would be the ability to attach this to media. So it sounds like this is more of a one-to-one offering for customers who are already engaged with Subway in some way, shape, or form, or that brand in some way, shape, or form. So they already have contact information, like an email. They're making a purchase, or they're in their text message program. So that, I think, is leaves a lot of area for growth, and there's certainly more opportunities to expand that. But I think that this is a great start. And so I really like that, they're thinking about solving a challenge that actually exists.
Yeah, no, I think it's really smart, kind of what they've assembled into the platform in terms of the breadth of features on SMS or in-app purchases, and even printing offers on receipts. So I think, I like that kind of, sort of pulling it all together in a single platform. And obviously these guys have a long-standing relationship with Subway. It says they've been working for nearly 5 years together. So that's great when you're able to kind of maintain those relationships and grow them beyond that. I'm with you. I think this is a great tool for Subway or others to use to engage existing customers who are loyal to the brand, who have the app, or, are already buying product from you and so on. But I think, where maybe there's opportunity is how do you then take this to, grow your audience and grow your base. Mm-hmm. So, what I would like to see is maybe some connectivity between sort of the loyalty, omni-channel marketing aspect of what they're trying to do here, bridged with, how we at the LBMA talk about the cake, and the bottom of the cake, which is the traffic driving piece. How do we use location to drive traffic, new audience into these stores, into these environments that we can then onboard onto the platform here, that then become part of our regular mix of engagement, right? So, so I think there's still opportunity for growth, but I love kind of the combination of tools that they put together in this. So I think it's cool. I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, on to our second story. So this one was a really interesting one for me this week. Apple has teamed up with Play Network around a service that they call Apple Music for Business. And so, we've talked over the years on the show a lot about, the sort of, seeing location-based marketing across all media, and seeing one of those things being, how we use sensory type of engagement in retail environments, in particular, as a way to influence purchase decisions, or influence at least, the mood maybe of customers. Hence, we have companies like Mood Media and Vibenomics and others, and obviously Play Network, who are companies that provide these types of systems to do that. And so, music is a big part of that. Pretty much every retail environment in North America, at least, when you walk in, there's some sort of music playing. And it's all done intentionally. It's all done in a way that's, trying to create a certain vibe, create a certain mood, to set an atmosphere for that consumer that can influence their purchasing. Obviously, there are ways through technology, through app platforms like Shazam that have audio watermarking and listening, to pull and create call to actions from that audio environment. But what's fascinating to me is, given all the companies I just mentioned, given the sort of penetration of the market, I think Mood has like 80% of, the North American retail market, already. Here comes Apple saying, look, we've got this service called Apple Music, for business, and we can come in and create custom playlists for brands. Apparently, they've been testing with Harrods in the UK and Levi's, Strauss as well, and having good success. They've landed 25 accounts so far in its first 6 months of operation. They say they'll have 10,000 stores running this, once they're fully implemented. And they're focusing on bigger brands that have more than 100 locations. So I wonder, I guess, I don't have any info on kind of how they price this or how it compares to some of the existing services in the market. But, when it comes to sort of music library and content, obviously Apple's, a massive player in that. So, they probably have a leg up on that side. Maybe where I think, they might want to consider, some investment or some technology pieces around it is around some of those other capabilities of creating call to actions based on some of those music, using Shazam-like technology or Into Now or any of those kind of audio listening type of pieces that can really create engagement. And because you're Apple and you have a lot of native OS users walking into these stores, you probably have an ability to do some of those things in the device. So I think it could be quite interesting. It could be fairly disruptive for, sort of music in the business environment. But we'll see. I like it. I'm kind of wondering kind of what the economics of it look like.
Yeah, definitely a question is the economics. And I do agree that Apple probably has a leg up here because of the massive amount of data that they have. So being able to blend consumer data alongside, of specific locations and behaviors within the store, outside of the store, because they are, the device itself. So they have a big opportunity there. I mean, I'm interested to know how much of that data is crossing walls between these divisions, but because Apple tends to be so privacy sensitive. But still, I think being able to leverage that understanding of the consumer at the level that they're at, which is very personal, and then bring that and deliver that to these retail brands in terms of the music and the media that they're able to deliver in store, is a really big thing to do. So I think that they definitely have some advantages compared to everybody who's already in the market. It's hard to get into a crowded market like that unless you have some very key differentiators, and I think that they do. And I do believe in the psychology behind the shopping and how, having good, the last thing you want to do is the thing that I hate to do is walk into a store where there's not music playing and all you hear is the screech of the hangers on the bars as you're going through clothes. It's so uncomfortable, but you get into, a mood, especially around the holiday season. Whenever you hear that music, it makes you think about buying gifts for other people and shopping and trying on clothes. And, you have this whatever movie montage where you're trying on lots of things or whatever it may be. So I think that that's, it's really interesting. So I am excited to hear more from the things that they're doing and what other data they start to incorporate into this. So yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right. Okay. So here's a crazy story for you. PayPal is making its largest acquisition ever with a company called Honey. If you don't know Honey is a company that has these browser add-ons. I have one of them that make it easier to find deals and bargains while you're shopping online. So you add this plugin, and then when you're about to check out, Honey will pop up and tell you, hey, you can save X% or, this much money if you use this code, or you're actually getting the best deal. So I've been using it for a while, and it's good. It saved me a couple bucks here and there. I wouldn't say it's been life-changing, but it's nice. Well, this acquisition makes sense to me because, PayPal is definitely trying to sort of broaden their reach outside of the, the payments industry. But I got a big sticker shock when I saw the acquisition amount that is being proposed, which is $4 billion, B with a B, $4 billion. So yeah, this is just crazy numbers to me. I am clearly missing a big part of this story because I'm not sure exactly how 4 billion, maybe 40 million. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how many consumers are using Honey, but this is a huge number, right? So PayPal currently has about 24 million different merchants that, are using them, and they see this as a way to help them attract a shopper sort of earlier in this like bargain shopping, deal hunting process, which is fine. I don't know that Honey's necessarily identifying a bargain shopper or a deal hunter, just somebody who's going to shop how they usually shop. And if they can save a couple extra bucks, then great. But, after the announcement was made the other day about this acquisition, what was really interesting is that their stock price dropped more than 2%. So obviously, a lot of people are not really thrilled about this news, or they're not seeing the 4 billion number maybe as I am. But what I like about this story is that PayPal is expanding its initiatives and acquisitions beyond the payment space, but also just beyond the borders, from a national basis and going more international. So they recently acquired they went into the China pay space through GoPay acquisition. And then they also have an upcoming Venmo credit card that they're talking about. And they haven't really had any other large acquisitions this year. They had some acquisitions last year, but I think they're just sort of rethinking on their strategy and how can they offer other services besides just the payment. So you have the payment, but you also have, am I getting the best deal? You have like, what am I interested in? And obviously, Honey being on the side that's a plugin has a lot of insight into all of your browsing history, which is likely the value that they're seeing them bring to the table. So I think this is definitely a deeper play than any of us can really think about and understand at this point. There has to be like a really big data play or something else to have this type of valuation. So I am like actually really excited to hear more details and news on this one. But I mean, what do you think? You think that number is justified?
I mean, anytime I see a number like this, against kind of, the run of the company. So like, I mean, these guys only they raised 40 million last year in venture funding. I looked up the number while you were talking. So to answer your question, so according to an article that was just published around this acquisition in Forbes, it looks like they're saying Honey's got 17 million users. 17 million people have the browser extension or are using it on a monthly basis. So that that's ongoing usage, and they have 30,000 retailers that they provide the service on. So yeah, I mean, so if like, what's the revenue model, right? Like if the revenue model for these guys is similar to what Groupon, was doing back in the day, a percentage of the transaction or something along those lines, along the way. And, that's the real question is how many transactions are they doing? Not necessarily how many users you have, but I mean, 17 million people using it regularly on a monthly basis. It's not small. But I still think 4 billion is a lot, right? Maybe 400 million is a more reasonable number, or 1 billion. I don't know, but we'll see. I think it's difficult to kind of understand these things without knowing kind of what the revenue behind it looks like and what the sort of engagement numbers look like, right? So. It's hard for me to say, but on that all being aside, I think for PayPal, from a technology portfolio perspective and a customer user engagement perspective, I think this is a great deal. I think this really adds something unique to their portfolio. I think that being obviously a transaction payments processing platform is one thing, and obviously they're the biggest players in that space, but having this sort of simplifying the consumer shopping experience, pulling the discounts together, as part of that. So, check out with PayPal and at the same time make sure you're saving, the most that you can. I think that's a seamless consumer, experience in terms of friction, removing friction. I say that because, I am one of those guys who, I use a lot of online services. I buy a lot of online things. I sign up for, even for business services, whether it's Dropbox or DocuSign or, whatever it is I'm using. And, when I see in the cart, when I see the thing, promo code, enter your promo code, I'm the guy who goes and looks for one. Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm a small business owner, right? I'm like, I'm trying to save every dollar I can, right? So if there is like some, something I can do to save $5 or, $150, like on a business service, then why not? And so I think if you can just present that to me at the same time and save me the time of going to find it, then that's great, right? And I'll tell you the other thing too, is like every time I go to do that, I'm like, so I'm in the cart, like, doing whatever purchase I'm doing. And then I go to a completely separate browser, like a completely different browser platform to look for the code, right? Because obviously often when you go and look for it on the same platform, it just takes you back into the cart you're already in. And so it's cumbersome. It's a hassle, right? So if you can remove that friction and just put it there in front of me, I'm great.
Right. Yeah, I think so. And I think that, I don't know, I would have to say that for all of the merchants that use PayPal, right, combining that with the Honey analytics and sort of being able to tell them like, hey, this is where else, your customers are shopping, or this is what they, like this is their behavior, sort of those consumer analytics, that's probably something else they could package up and sell.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought.
There you go. So Honey, $4 billion acquired by PayPal. There you go. All right. So that's our three.
Sweet deal.
Yeah. That's our three industry news stories for this week. So shifting over to our member news now, I'll kick this off with a story going over to the UK now, where our friends at Tesco, or more specifically the division of Tesco called One Stop, big retail operator out in that part of the world, has launched an interesting holiday AR campaign. And it's sitting on top of Facebook's AR. So I haven't heard a lot about people using Facebook AR. So it's kind of cool and different in this way. So One Stop is kind of the local convenience store, the 7-Eleven sort of division of Tesco, if you will. And so they've created this augmented reality game. It's an interactive experience where you can win prizes. And what I like about it, it's called Find Eddie the Elf. So if you know the Elf on the Shelf game that people have been playing for generations with a real elf that people hide in their house and just appears all over the place or whatever, this is kind of like a digital version of that in augmented reality. And so think of it like a hide and seek game. Eddie the Elf is kind of hidden in augmented reality places. What I like about it is that you can play the game in the app, but there's also ways to play the game physically in the store. So it's both online and offline. Obviously, because it's AR, it uses the camera lens of your phone, and it's available in all One Stop stores. So you can go to the One Stop Facebook page and play it there. But yeah, it's all real time. It's all kind of these floating, sort of hidden elves, throughout the store or in the online experience. You can win really small little prizes like, Malteser chocolate reindeers, or, boxes of orange chocolate, from Matchmakers. There's a weekly draw for 1,000 pounds. And then there's like, trips and all kinds of other things, all kinds of other prizes. They have a lot of consumer brands who are involved with it in terms of special promotions, from Mars to Nestle to Coke, Walkers, like shortbreads and so on. So yeah, like it really kind of truly holiday themed around like all the candy and chocolate and stuff that's available in the convenience store. The kind of holiday themed stuff. For me though, I think the biggest thing here that I like about it is, number one, it's they're finding a way to use Facebook. They are. Number two, that they're doing this both in the online experience in Facebook on the Facebook page, as well as in the physically in the stores where you can walk around, kind of find the hidden elf around the place. So I like it.
All right. So usually I would definitely trash something like this, but I actually am giving this one good remarks because I think this is fun. I think it's suited for the season. I don't know about you, if you ever did like Elf on the Shelf or anything like that for your kids. That is like not going to happen for me. I would lose the elf and I don't have time to move things every night. I can't even, remember the thing, I'm focused on just making sure like my kids have a lunch the next day, so the Elf on the Shelf sort of thing is like, has passed me by. It has never really been something that we've done in our house. But what I do know is that when I go to Trader Joe's, they have a monkey that's kind of like their little guy, and they hide him different places every day. And every time we go, my kids want to find the monkey. And so there's no digital part of this whatsoever. But, when I'm in the store shopping with my kids, I would totally hand them my phone and say, find the elf. This is fun. Distract yourselves for a little while. That's like the one thing, there's like two things that kind of get them through the grocery store. It's, really like finding the monkey and then, tasting whatever they have available that day. So I like that this is seasonal, and I like that they have some prizes associated with it. I mean, it's fun. I think my kids would enjoy it without any prizes. So I don't know that it's like really an adult thing, but for every parent that's going into Tesco this holiday season, they're like, yes, this is fun. We'll do this. And then the kids, like it. So then you can say, oh, you can play on the computer too when you get home. Okay. So I think that this is kind of a winning fun, holiday campaign. It's good.
Yeah. Very good. Cool.
All right. So this is, we started off the show talking about sort of like that direct to consumer and like the retail switching up and challenges. And so this was the story that I was kind of excited to talk about. We are talking about Penny's, and they are still kicking. This is J.C. Penney's. They are 117 years old. This retailer is doing something completely out of the box for them, after being around for so long. And this was really interesting to me because you don't expect this of a Penny's. You might expect it of maybe a Macy's. They seem to be trying new things often, but JCPenney said, okay, you know what, we are switching things up. And I think their new CEO has seen sort of this decline and continued, operating loss that just continues to grow quarter over quarter. And so they are just trying to shake things up. And I think they said enough, like, we can't continue to do things the way that we've always traditionally done them. We've got to change things up. And so they are trying things out at a new store in Hurst, Texas. Hurst is right outside of Dallas, apparently. And this store is sort of like a concept. It's a lab. They're sort of viewing it as like this testing place where it'll have all these different features that they're trying out. So they have fitness classes with instructors. They have a barber shop where you can, get a shoe shine and get your hair, your beard trimmed and all of those things. They have personal styling that they're bringing in. So they opened this on November 1st. So it's just kind of getting going for the holiday season. And they are viewing this as more like investing in the future. They're like, this is not a prototype, this is not something we're planning on rolling out to every store, but we're just trying to see what works and what is, helping us to really value our consumers and look at the shopper, journey and try and make it a better one, right? So some of the things that I really liked is I was looking through the pictures of all the different things that they were doing. And so the store is totally different than, your Nana's JCPenney. This is not your grandma's, like, from that era. It's much more modern. There's a lot of light. It's very clean. It's very organized. And even just like, so they have a lot more, just styling and the way that the areas are set up and designed is really beautiful. And it's much more appealing. I think, one of the things why I've never enjoyed shopping at a JCPenney is it's kind of like you had to dig, right? You just go in, there's no like really process or plan to the store, and they want to roll this out so it feels like, you know, you can navigate things a little bit easier. So that was one thing that was a really big difference in a lot of the photos that I saw. They also have these styling rooms, and they now have this like personal styling. It's a free service, which is amazing. So you can be, you know, matched with somebody who can help pick things out for you, maybe for your body type or your style and what you're looking for. And then in the dressing rooms, they actually have a way that you can request like new sizes, new colors, you know, different things. And I really like this because, you know, when you're shopping in a boutique, it's pretty easy just to peek your head out and say like, hey, can you grab me another size? But when you're in a department store the size of a JCPenney, it's really hard, you know, and you have to like get dressed, go back and find it. There's no one ever there to help you, but having the ability to just request something straight from the dressing room, I think this will definitely boost purchases. And they've also taken sort of this page out of the Lululemon book, right? So you've got like the yoga and the fitness class, and it's happening right there around all this apparel, around all of their, you know, products that are made specifically for these types of classes. They're also doing tutorials and lifestyle workshops around like cooking, you know, showing all of their houseware products. As well as workshops with like their tools. You know, I think JCPenney, probably behind Sears, is known for sort of some of their appliances and tools as well. And so, you know, teaching people how to use different things or do different projects, I think is really, really cool from a demonstration perspective. So I like this. You know, I think that they're finally like opening their eyes and saying like, what's going to work for us? You know, it may not be all of this. It may not be this exact concept replicating, but we're going to try a bunch of different things and we're going to see what works, right? Like, let's see what resonates with customers, what's bringing them in the stores, and let's, you know, implement this. So, you know, kudos to them for, you know, being, you know, staying around so long and really trying to be innovative at this stage in their history.
Yeah, I think this is a great move by them. I think that, you know, and I've said this a number of times over the years, but like, I think when you think about physical retail and you think about the survival of physical retail and what makes it, you know, work is when you can create great customer experiences, like, you know, actually, you know, make the store a destination that people want to go to, not just a place where they can buy something, but a place where they can experience something and at the same time buy something. And so to me, that's what this points to, right? And we see it, we see this type of movement happening, you know, across the industry. We see a lot of commercial retail spaces, shopping malls being turned into WeWorks, and, you know, sort of, you know, have people work there and play there and shop there and, you know, and even live there in some cases, and kind of bringing it all together, right? You know, because it's about, you know, how is this retail part of my life, and not just, you know, it's just a, you know, a place where I'm buying stuff, and so I think that's really important, and I think they're seeing that because, you know, the styling or fitness or, you know, getting a haircut or whatever it is, these are all things that are part of my life that I need. These are things that I do anyways. So if I can do them there with you, then you know, that's a good thing. So I like that. I think one thing that I'd be interested, sorry, to see as this kind of rolls out across the country is, can they, not only can they scale this with, you know, global brands, you know, so I know like in the fitness part of this, they've got partnerships with Lululemon, Aletha, and so on. And I'm sure they have other types of partnerships like that with different types of, you know, brands, products that they sell. But I think one thing that would be really interesting is, as you start to scale this out to different cities and so on, is can you also bring in, how much can you bring in of a local flavor, you know, mixed into that alongside the other pieces? So, you know, if you've got a restaurant in there, right, can you bring in, you know, local, you know, organic food suppliers, or, you know, local microbrewery products, or those kinds of things that are part of it that people also know because they live in the community, right? Mm-hmm. So I think those things become really interesting. You know, that you can sort of have have the model kind of copied across the country, but at the same time have it an element of it be unique to each store. So I know because this is in Texas, obviously, you know, when they launched, they had, you know, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders there and whatnot. But like, you know, when you open this in New York or whatever, that's not going to work. You need something different, right? And you know, or if you go to a smaller you know, city, you know, you want to kind of reflect the community around you. So I think hopefully that's part of the model that they're thinking about. But overall, I think this is great for the brand. And you know, I wish Sears had kind of seen this a long time ago too. So
yeah, you know, I was thinking of like 3 little things, since we're in the business of giving away ideas when we're always thinking about these. But, you know, I think of, you know, something that like my youngest daughter does once a week is she goes to an art center and they like read a book and they do an art project based on what they read. And then, you know, they obviously want people to come back to the art center other days that, you know, besides that, but they do it free. So, you know, the ability to do like mommy and me fitness classes, or, you know, like baby music classes right there within all of the kids department, right? When you're right in the middle of all the toys, or, you know, so they get to play with the toys and you see what they like and then you take those home, right? I think is a great, you know, an idea. Or the ability to do different levels of sort of like monthly sponsorships and affiliate marketing. When you have new, for example, there's new like pop-up fitness chains coming all the time. And so they say, hey, a month from now, like Barry's Boot Camp is opening, you know, down the block, but Barry's Boot Camp, you know, needs to start to generate customers in that area. So they come in, they do these fitness classes, they sponsor them. And this month is Barry's Boot Camp. And these are the classes we're going to have. And then, you know, they're driving sales for Barry's Boot Camp, but they're also bringing people in there. And so it's sort of like a win-win for both of them. Yep. So the ability to do things like that, I think, opens up so much opportunity. And I love the idea, like you said, bringing in local flair and making that unique to each store. It makes people want to go. So like, even if you're traveling, right, and you're like, oh, you know, I'm going to go into JCPenney because who knows what they're going to have in this one that they didn't have in, you know, the Dallas one, right?
Yeah, like as you were talking, it reminded me, I remember years ago now, I was in, we were doing some sort of LBMA event in Austin, and I was down in Austin, Texas, and I remember saying to just some local friends of mine, I'm in town, let's meet up after work, you know, for, you know, dinner and drinks and whatever. And I said, you know, to whoever was responding, you know, you guys pick the place. And the place they picked to go for drinks was like the bar inside of Whole Foods, because it was across the street from the gym where they were all working out that day, you know. And I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, sure. Now it's Austin, it's Home Foods, you know, sort of Whole Foods sort of head office is there, and obviously they have kind of their test concept stores and all those things going on there, so that made sense to me. But in the same way, like, I think it's about how do you create those experiences? How do you become the local hangout for people, right? Like, that's not my first thought, to think to go hang out at the bar at Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's also about how do you replace like a Target where you just run in and run out to get something, with somebody coming. I mean, to me, a department store is like a little bit harder to get in and out of, right? But if you have a reason to go there, if there's something that seasonally is changing, some type of exhibit that you can take your kids to when it's cold outside or when it's raining on a weekend, you're going to go in there and you've got to pick up, you know, a new pack of socks or like whatever. Now you're driving more revenue for your store that would have otherwise been going to Amazon or Target. So it's creating those experiences. It's bringing people into the store and keeping them temporal, I think, is a huge part of it. So yeah. All right, we could go on and on about this forever.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so let's go on. Our final story for this week. Our friends at CVS have teamed up with the Weather Channel, and this is an interesting story. So they're leveraging IBM's Watson AI platform to do some flu predictions. Obviously, winter is coming here in North America. Flu season is upon us. And so they have these flu insights, you know, that are being driven out of the Watson AI platform. And CVS has stepped up as kind of the first sponsor of the Weather Channel's new in-app capability here. So basically what they're able to do is apparently predict sort of the incidence of flu 15 days in advance when they think you're at risk of catching the flu based on your location. And then, so this is all available through a new flu option in the health and activities category of the of the app. So, and then basically CVS can run ads in there for $5 off $25 purchases, direct to users for getting a no-cost flu shot and things like that, at a local CVS, and you can use location data to find the closest location, and all those types of things. So I think it's a great, this is not the first time we've seen these kinds of sort of mashups of flu data, but I think it's a neat way to use AI to kind of predict incidence of flu in certain specific markets, and smart obviously for CVS to be a sponsor, a player in this in terms of driving traffic to their stores, to get remedies, to get products to help you maybe ward off the flu, or to get your flu shot there, and those kinds of things. And they have all these kind of flu prevention tips, kind of coming in an ad carousel type of formats, and the benefits of vitamin D and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's I don't have a lot to say about it. I think it's smart. It's an intelligent use of the AI technology that's there, and a very logical partnership between the Weather Channel and CBS.
Yeah, I think certainly like a change in season always brings about new opportunities for especially the healthcare industry, whether it's seasonal allergies in the spring or like the flu, hitting right now. It reminds me of something that we did on the digital element side, a long time ago, where we used IP intelligence location, and we paired it with search within WebMD's platform to say like how big and bad the flu outbreak was in the area, like where you were coming from. So you could see like, is it more of just like the cold, seasonal cold, or is it like full blown, influenza type of thing. And so I think these things always do well. And I think that CBS obviously has a lot to offer from content, obviously like paid sponsorships from, brands like whatever, Mucinex or whoever it may be at that moment. So there's a lot of opportunities that this brings to the table. And I think that, Weather Channel obviously, or IBM Watson, is set up well to, deliver those types of insights.
There you go. So that's our show for this week. You've been listening to episode number 441 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Of course, we will be back next week with yet another show. And again, if I encourage you to share this with friends, colleagues, give us feedback, give us some likes, some star ratings, whatever it is in the platform, and then go find us on some of these new channels that we're now available because we're pushing on Anchor. So, you can get us on Spotify, iTunes, wherever. So, thank you for listening and watching. We appreciate all your support, and we'll be back next week at the end of the show. Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Thanksgiving. Bye.